each different bubble of reality is true.
A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma.
Nudge, nudge, it's the holy grail.
Improvise. Mysterious.
It's counter psychic intelligence.
Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important?
Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.
Now, we're going to get to the good stuff. The most important thing you can learn on your sacred pilgrimage and journey is to stop hoping for outcomes you cannot control. As long as you're creating hope in the ancient future, you aren't being here, present in the now. You aren't a part of the ancient present. You are playing in the future where hope is. Hope springs eternal and helps us to go through creation. But there are times when hope becomes toxic. And in the journey, you must be in the ever-present moment of now, allowing hindsight and foresight, which are a different form of experience than hope. When you make the individual choice to stop controlling outcomes and allowing the divine forces of yourself to work through you, the great, incredible, and mystical things happen in your daily life. Living the mystical life daily is a way of life. A way, a set of actions that are part of your spiritual agenda. And your spiritual agenda does not use hope as the only process of creating in the future. Hope is just one thing our human minds stick to. Hope eventually, inevitably becomes subtle control of the future. And when you are in subtle control of the future and not in equal co-creation with the moment of now, you never really truly understand how to move forward. You'll be stuck in the instant gratification of creating hope, just like buying a lottery ticket, thinking that you're going to win. And all that energy was wasted in the numbers, wasted in the vision that you might win. By making the active choice of the mighty I Am present to eliminate hope from controlling your future, you allow yourself full control of the ancient present, access to the no-time process, and your genius ability within to activate and co-create with the divine spirit of all. Each of us goes through this process, and this is known as creating the divine peace of the sovereign I Am self. Many of you ask me, why do we need to create this peace? Isn't the whole process of awakening bringing yourself back together? The answer is yes. But after a while of bringing yourself together, and you want to make this process easier for yourself, you want to be able to give tasks, programs, things that make this easier. Programs that are in our sympathetic and our parasympathetic were never meant to function the way they are now. Shame, blame, and guilt, depression, regression, obsession, OCD, and all those other archetypical processes that take away from the sovereign self. When the sovereign I Am has done enough healing on shame, blame, and guilt, depression, regression, obsession, and has gotten over the levels of instant gratification and learned that healing is a process and not an event, you want to create an easier way to interact with time and no time. There, as we make the eternal, internal choice from the pilgrimage into the sacred mountain of the inner self, where we go into the mountain of our heart and discover the sacrednesses within the tunnels that are there, the tunnels of our heart that are actually our veins and arteries going through the wholeness of our body. There's the first journey into creating that first sovereign peace, to discover what the body needs in its individual level, to make it closer than just sympathetic and parasympathetic, just voluntary or involuntary operating systems. When we bring the body as part of our co-creation, we create a piece of our sovereign self that functions for the body, that works with our healers in the spirit world. That first step is to throw yourself the lifeline, to create your own version of a healing self that has all the skills of the Akashic Record, all the skills of every being you've ever been before as a healer, available to you as a guide in no time, in your sacred protected place, so that when you begin your journey, You do not step on the journeys of others out of ignorance. And you must have that process within you. So if you should need others in your spirit journey, then you know who to call upon because you've done the inner discerning work. By not stepping on another's journey in your own journey process, you will learn why you need to plan and why you need to begin to understand what these different sovereign pieces do. The very first piece assists you on the journey by creating the sovereign healer self that's constantly ever-present moment of no time, waiting for you to call upon it to give you your sacred journey wisdom, your sacred journey nectar of healing, the inspiration to go and do. The next part is discovering what your pilgrimage truly is going to mean to you. You've created that first healer's piece. You're going to go to a sacred space and have sacred time with that place. And to do that, you must pilgrimage. You must use the sacred healer piece within yourself to look at a journey, to predict the journey's most obvious moments. And when you get into your car, when you get into the airplane, when you get to your first place, there, you know those obvious moments are coming. There is where you focus as your ancient present self on the potential future. Where you have your first sleep, your first awakening, all of those are moments in which the sacred healer and the sacred ever-present moment sends healing energy to a sacred future when you are on your pilgrimage and journey. This is known as passing on the legacy of the self, passing on that healer within to the healer of the future who shall need more of yourself in the expression. By making the choice and understanding that there is a progression in creation that starts long before the journey, this is where the journey and the process becomes easier. Multidimensionality living is easier to understand as efficiency becomes a process of the I Am Self. And the journey has new beginnings and new endings. For the journey of 1,000 steps begins with one, and the journey of 10,000 steps has many thousands of spiritual steps taken before the actual first physical step. That is the preparation we take to enhance our endurance. When you make that choice, you will truly discover the power within and why we must again learn to do sacred pilgrimages to sacred places for our own sacred internal purposes of creating and co-creating with ourselves. Now you must solidify your wisdom in the action of the I Am Now, who acknowledge the densities of these worlds that they are in, knowing that the density of this world is changing as we get closer to the galactic central sun plane. And as the compression process of all that was goes into all that will be, here is solidifying your wisdom. You take the power of manifesting your sovereign boundaries through contract revocation. In this moment of your meditative wisdom, you summon every contract revocation you have ever done and make it a part of your boundaries. This is an alchemy process, taking the solidity of your wisdom and making it a part of your boundary system. The manifestation of your sovereign boundaries leads to creating within. Once you have those boundaries and you are in that perfect state of protection, what do you do with it? With those solid boundaries you create within, there is where you create with the divine. There is where you co-create with all sources that are in yourself in non-competition. So at this moment in meditation, all of those beings in non-competition begin to assist you with the divine co-creation process. You can transmute the old into new forms of creation, inspiration, and dreams. When you make that I Am choice of the now to do that and manifesting those sovereign boundaries, you give yourself the spiritual space to acknowledge you can. By making the choice to do it, you get to transform your life process into a series of steps, processes that lead us and you and all versions of you on the sacred journey. For co-creating within yourself is your synchronistic process. All right. It's time for one more caller.
Okay, next caller is Nate from Colorado.
Nate from Colorado, are you there?
Yes, I am. How's it going? Can you hear me?
Good, Nate. How are you doing today?
Very good, and I'm really glad that Justin called. It was really awesome, just everything that he spoke about. And the other day with the weather special that you released, you had a classic caller that was a Divinity Path, and I don't know word for word, but you told her to do something before she went to sleep, and I did that, and it was just absolutely amazing. Just I had a very, very, very lucid dream. Just I haven't had them a lot very often, just because of a lot of issues that I've been having. So sorry. I just moved to Colorado recently, so I'm still getting used to the elevation. But yeah, just a lot of what you have talked about has just resonated with me so much. And in 2012, I had an incident where I was in a coma, and I saw so much, like I went to different dimensions. And I'm not sure if it was past lives I was seeing, but I do know I'd left my body and I saw myself, and just a lot of these experiences have just led me on the path that I'm on now. I'm doing energy work, and whenever I get a chance, I try to help people and heal people, whether it's like making teas or just encouraging them, just being very positive and a very good influence. So I'm glad to be able to talk to you, and I'm really glad that I found out about you.
Outstanding. So what questions did you want to ask today?
So what I wanted to talk about was that incident really, whenever in 2012, just a lot of the things that I saw, just if you could tune into that, it was like October 2012, and just I saw basically it was like a breakdown of the Matrix, if you want to say. I saw beings in the room that I was in actually constructing the reality around me, and they actually they made me sign a contract, and that's the other thing that really resonated with when I first heard you talking about soul contract and DNA skin suits. I mean, I've been to so many places, but I already know just from hearing you talk, and just like exactly what Justin said, the previous caller, you know, you're so spot on. Like everything you say, it's in layers, but it's meant to be that way so that people can understand it, and it may not kick in right away. Like just the information, you're so consistent. It's so on point with what I've seen, what I've experienced in my life, and I had a point in that experience when I was in that coma where I saw myself lifting people up and just helping. So I know I'm here to help people. Just I've been, I guess you could say, under attack. A lot of entities trying to get in my head, pull me back into the Matrix, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it to the live event, but I've already pretty much getting a private session set up for sometime after the 16th, whenever you're available again.
Okay. So what put you into coma?
It was from benzodiazepine, Xanax. I was prescribed to it. My lung collapsed from pneumonia, and I was prescribed to so many pain medications, just like Soma, Dilaudid, morphine, oxycodone. I was just a zombie, basically, and it got to a point to where I was just so much hatred, anger, and I basically, my brother was stealing things from me, to make a long story short, and basically I'd gotten locked up, and basically I couldn't get my medication anymore, and it brought me into this experience of awakening.
Yeah. So just so you know that coma was spiritually contracted for you to happen, and for you to come back into body with a refabricated reality where you didn't actually die, and because the previous caller, I said at any moment with cancer as well with any death date, you can change it at will. And you did that. And that's why they made you sign a new contract, because you had actually changed your potentials of futures.
I actually had escaped from their system. I saw the court system. They put me through. They hacked into my mind. They cut me into pieces. They tortured me. They sentenced me to hell for 7 years. They did all these things until I came to a point where I was like, no, this is my mind. This is my body. Right. You do not control me. You have no power over me.
Mm-hmm. And you won.
Yes.
And you won.
I'm here.
And
I'm
you're here
today.
And you're here today.
I can't wait to be able to meet you eventually, but just what I saw, I know what my purpose is just, I've been struggling, and I know I'm in Colorado for a reason. I left the sacred geometry grid of Atlanta, which just didn't want to let me go, but I visited Colorado, and I just started having dreams, dream after dream after dream. It's like I got to go there and reconnect with myself, which is what I did. I'm in the mountains. I love it, but, eventually I'm going to have to go somewhere else because it's just in my nature to travel, to meet people, to learn about people, to teach people, and, I want to do anything I can to help our society, basically, and just lift everyone up and raise the vibrations, and that's basically kind of what my mission is. And
all right, so let me give you a little advice.
Okay.
The era of you as a traveling personality are over.
Yes.
Okay. So that dream that you think you're going to be out travel and do this and do that is just going to lead to random partying.
Okay.
The party life has to completely 100% end.
Okay.
2, you need to understand that you need to stay grounded in those mountains for a minimum of 7 months so that you can finish having the dreams. You were summoned to that place for a reason, as part of your new contracts for coming back in. And like the first caller, who beings have been trying to communicate to you for a very long time, and they need you as a fixed point in space-time to be a fixed point in space-time so they can actually triangulate you with your new spiritual contracts and begin to have first contact and first communication with you.
Okay.
That is hollow earthers and off-worlders. Now, these are individual soul family members who are in physical existence, who will attempt to communicate to you through the mind, through the cerebral process. You need to practice heart space awareness. The tree meditations, the sanctuary of all souls, the grove of the patriarchs and the matriarchs are the ones that are going to help you build heart space awareness. It's vitally important that you begin to do the sun meditation, which is looking at the sun with your eyes closed. So you, through your eyelids, you see the sun.
Yeah. Okay.
You need to start doing that in the mountain air. The sacred geometry city was siphoning 60% of your available energy off. And now that you're grounded, you're going to get all of that energy that was siphoned away is going to come back to you through dreams. And you're going to have to really chronicle these dreams and begin to chronicle your daily actions and visions. It's important that you become repetitive and cyclical in your meditations. So if you're going to get up, if you're an early get up person, then get up and do your meditations early so the rest of the day is yours. Or if you're a night person, switch yourself to night and do your meditations at night. For the longest time, at 3 o'clock in the morning, whether I was asleep or I was awake, I would stop and do my specific meditations. Then I switched to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I was able to move the time that I have my greatest energy. Ultimately, this is what you have to do. You have to figure out when is my peak energy of the day and when is my lowest energy of the day, and be able to flip the frequency on either of those because you regularly practice during the two oppositions.
Absolutely.
Okay. The next part here is you got to start doing ceremony.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Authentic, deep ceremony that is telling your story to fire, that is using the contract revocations, that is creating also your own, so that you can make a set of rules, borders, policies, and procedures. So when you make first contact with someone, you know how to respond to it, and when something makes first contact to you, you know how to. They know how to respond. Okay. There, and it's similar to that other caller. One more. Just give me a second. So, when's the last time you really dated?
The last time I really dated, it was about a year ago.
And what ended that?
Just pretty much just got tired of just the way that the relationship was going. She had an issue with drugs that I was trying to help her through. She had actually gotten clean for a while, and just just started falling apart. She just got pulled right back in. I just couldn't deal with it anymore. So, I just pretty much left after that.
Okay. I want you to start trying to date again now that you're out in Colorado. It's important for your growth that energy be turned back on, that you have access to your male energy. Okay?
Okay.
And it's not spitting machine gun game. Every now and then you got to cock the rifle once a week and see if you can spit out one line that might be heard or not. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to try. As long as you're not trying, you are going to diffuse your greater growth.
Okay.
Okay? And if you do find someone and they are compatible, you need to start having a lot of sex. A lot.
Right.
Okay? You need to get that kundalini rising.
You're right. Yeah,
and if
I've definitely been feeling it.
And if you can find the right partner that you can talk about sacred sexuality, which is the energy work that goes within that, you might even be finding yourself on a scenario where you can be riding the great roller coaster.
Okay.
Where some experiences are going to come in at superluminal speeds, and your hair's going to be slicked back every time you wake up from dreams.
Right.
And you got to be ready to record the shit.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yeah, you're right. And that was the big thing, was the journaling. That's one thing that I haven't been doing. I had a period not too long after that coma where I was journaling pretty regularly, writing about my dreams, the dreams I was having, and I just got out of it. I just got sucked back into the whole sacred geometry system, just like all these symbols and just the materialism and just money and getting so caught up in that, and that's why I had to leave. And I knew I had to basically ground myself, and I've been practicing. I do Tai Chi, Qigong, energy work, and I've been really getting back into that routine. It took me about a year before I really actually started to perceive the energy and actually feel it through my body to help heal a lot of problems that I have, just back issues, just muscles, and just I did a lot of hard labor, just like working in a warehouse for many years. So just fixing all of that and being able to teach other people, because from what I've learned is, even if you don't have a teacher, if you know more than another person, then you are a teacher. And and getting into that and just helping people on their way as well.
So, as I was listening to you speak and talk about Tai Chi and the energies and the views, there was this background vision that I saw. And what it is you are being groomed by your guides, your guardians, and your off-world protectors. And I use the word off-world protectors for a reason. You saw the Matrix for what it is.
I've been there. I called for help, and they took me to this place. The only way I could describe it was just I felt okay. I felt where I could actually feel. I felt happy, and there's just no words to really describe the feeling that I had.
I know,
but I knew it was great. So
I've been there too.
Yeah.
So I get what you went through.
Absolutely.
And as I'm saying, they are grooming you to have, let's just say, top secret access to what I'll call HDMI, high density military intelligence.
Okay.
And within access to high density military intelligence means they're going to give you forewarning on how the dream process is going to be changed in our world.
Okay.
And you are going to be a dreaming witness and testimony and giving dreaming testimony to the changes that are being done. Again, you are being groomed as a multiple form of contactee. I would say there's at least 65 different species that are in line through your protectorate to have cultural connections to you. So
I felt that.
You got to realize you are about to have 65 brand new best friends.
I've met many, many different beings. There's just not many ways to describe them here. I've met good beings, bad beings, just, you know, all sorts of the ones that try to trick you, the ones that are authentic.
Right.
When you meet them, you just know. It's that knowingness inside, and that's what
That's
I've really
why
been trying to tune into. Is that
that's why you've been
trusting my
exposed.
intuition.
That's why you've been exposed to these people. And now, can
Okay.
you imagine having 65 best friends? No.
I could.
You probably can't. It's probably hard for you to truly imagine having 65 best friends.
Yeah.
That's what you're being groomed for right now. That's why all of these dream experiences are happening. That's why you had your coma. They all
okay.
are going to have similar traits reflective of you, of what you've gone through this life. They will have their as below, so above, as above, so below, their reflection of those lessons that need to be learned.
Okay.
And you're going to have to learn new cultures. One of them is going to be a reptilian style species, but they're not the bad guys. You know, they've done some bad shit in their time, but they pulled out a while ago, this particular one that I'm referring to.
All what they were doing, and they changed. Okay.
They did change, you know, but they still got to be watched because they're still the nature of the snake. Now, there will be other ones that are human looking that you won't continue relationships because they are the human negatives. And then there's going to be the human positives, the blue beings, the red beings, the purple beings, the rainbow beings. You get endless amounts of shapes and sizes, octopoids, all sentient beings that you've lived in their culture before. And they innately know you through the soul family resonance, and they're like, holy shit, this motherfucker's on this world. We've got a medium.
I got you.
Okay? And you're being groomed for great communication. That's why you're in those mountains. Now it's time to begin your first contact process. You know, you're so similar to the first caller. Okay?
Yes.
Don't be afraid anymore. Engage, make the first contact.
What would you recommend? What's the best way? I'm not really sure how to do that in this stage when I was...
Ritual and ceremony. And again, I'm going to go back to the course. The course is layered for this.
I'm not planning on going ahead and signing up for that. Just due to all the information I've heard, all the things that I've resonated with, everything that you've said, there's just no way that I can't. I mean, I've done all the different revocations, the heart meditation, shaman's death, the communion, the one for all souls. I pretty much did all of them that you had. I read through all of them just because I knew that I needed to. And just from that alone, I can't even tell you how much energy was just brought back the other day. It's just almost like when I do a really good Tai Chi and Qigong set, you feel the energy just flowing through you, you know, like, and then being able to reconnect the governing vessel and the conception vessel that was broken during puberty. That was another thing that I'd been working on to get the energy flowing through my body well so that I can open up that communication.
Yep. And beginning to practice those cyclically every day. Let's say you take the consciousness strike and the sanctuary of all souls, you do that as your morning practice, and you do another one as your evening practice. The more that you do, the more it's going to repay you. The key is repetition, illumination. Repetition, illumination. That's why you do teach Tai Chi and Qigong, because it shows you illumination.
Yes, absolutely. And it helps me to quiet my mind.
Beautiful.
And it helps me focus on the energy and to actually move it through the body to actually remove blockages. And that's why I really, really enjoy it, because I actually feel it.
So you're in Colorado. Have you experienced snow before? Because in Atlanta doesn't exactly get snow.
I moved here in January, so yeah, I got to experience. It's actually a lot warmer than it had been. From what my friend told me, he's been here since 2014. It's actually been very, very warm.
Well,
you know,
this winter's going to change.
This spraying really hard, and just, you know, a lot of the stuff that they're doing, that they're trying to do to change, or, you know, just whatever they're trying to still do with their game. You know, even though it's pretty much, you know, they know the game is pretty much up. Gonna keep trying, you know, and it's just like I feel it though. It's like it hurts, you know, just whenever they keep sending these signals. Like another thing I've been trying to do is just, because they send these frequencies and I hear them. I'm very clairaudient and clairvoyant. And I don't know, sometimes it feels like they've been hitting me a lot harder since I've really done all your revocations. Like, they're trying to get me back, but I don't want to go back in, you know? I'm like, I'm done with this, you know? No more. I'm taking my power. I claim my I am self, you know? I've done a lot of things that you said made a huge difference.
Yeah, now you got to start having those ceremonies that fortify you with such intensity that they will no longer even think about penetration testing you.
Absolutely,
right now, they're just testing
yeah.
to see if you're long-term serious.
What was that?
They're just testing you to see if you're long-term serious. Remember, even the darkies are no time.
I knew it. I knew they had no power because I'd said no before, but it's just they're biding their time. And the other thing is, there's like an entity attached to a friend of mine that is pretty powerful. That it doesn't want to let go, even though it knows. You know, it's like, I'm not going to give you anything anymore willingly. You know, it's like it just doesn't want to stop, and it just. You know, I'm not going to give into it. It's just, but it knows how to like poke at you. Yeah. I guess you could say.
And that's why you got to learn to fortify your reality with the various teachings that are out there. And you can put so much intensity into the fortification that it does not limit you and prevents the other entities from having any access to you. Now, the other aspect of this course is called the Peacemaker and the Peacekeeper. And it's learning how to encapsulate any projecting energy into a dream world so it can go and have its resolution, even though it's not actually affecting you. You create an illusionary world that it's trapped in, just like it does to us. And it never knows it's not siphoning off of you. And the Peacekeeper energy brings your guides and guardians to put them in a neutral space where they're, sucking on their own thumb. Because they are finite children. Okay. Pick up your use of the consciousness strike. Begin to have cyclical fire ceremonies. The bigger the fire, the better for you in this short term until your winter comes.
So what I was going to say was that's the one thing I love fire, and I really want to do it, but they have burn bans where I'm at in Colorado because it gets so dry, so there's not many times where you can actually burn a fire.
Well, then you can switch to a gas grill with a big pot of soup on it.
Okay.
That'll work. Have you heard me talk about ancestral soups on the previous shows?
I'm not sure if I've seen one where you talked about ancestral soup.
Basically, it's a way to, if a lot of people have burn bans and are unable to burn, you can just get an outdoor burner, gas burner, and put a big pot of water on it. That's the same technology. Instead of praying over the wood, you're going to pray over the liquid gas. You're going to pray over the water. You're going to put the same time, effort, and energy that you would into a fire, into another outdoor scenario where you can do it on your back porch. Okay? Read all the revocations to it. Then at the end, you want to spread the soup wherever you want your energies to be. Underneath your car, by your mailbox, save some of it and throw it on the local Masonic temple, all sorts of things.
Okay.
And it's just building it. You can also eat the soup. That is your own prayers. There's nothing wrong with that. That is consuming your own message, so you truly learn from within.
Because you're reprogramming the water as well.
Yes, you're pre-programming the water.
Yes.
With the fullness of creation of a meal.
Okay.
Right. And if you put 3 hours of honest effort and prayers and meditation teachings into that, what do you think you're going to get if you were to consume that over a period of 4 days?
A whole lot.
And dreams are going to flow. Because your dreaming body's in your intestinal tract. And you have just consumed this creation of dreams and given your intestinal tract permission to dream and to connect to the I am.
Okay.
So that you can begin to have first contact, that you understand, that you can process, that you can integrate, that doesn't create fear.
Okay.
All right, man. Thanks a lot for calling. I got to end the show today. You've been a great caller.
Yep. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, man. Look forward to seeing you.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
425, your name and where you're calling from?
Hello, my name is David, and I'm calling from the Pacific Northwest.
Hi, David from Pacific Northwest. How can I help you today?
Oh, I just thought it'd be interesting to get some thoughts on a dream and some subsequent dreams that I've had recently. I made a rod, and made up my own little ritual, and made a rod and sanded it for hours and hours and meditated while I sanded it, mounted a crystal on the end. Then the night after I made it, I had a dream where I was in a room with probably 3 or 4 people, and one of our should say humans, because one of them didn't look humanoid. And anyway, I was showing my rod to these individuals, and I held the crystal tip against another stone that was in my dream, and things became very electric. I mean, I felt the energy everywhere, just buzzing. And then all the human type people in the room could not speak after that. It was just like speech paralysis. I was trying to speak, and words weren't coming out. But the creature that was like humanoid but not human could they speak. I don't remember what he was saying, or they were saying, but they were chatting up the storm. So, in the rest of that dream, I woke up feeling like, boy, I couldn't express myself, or it was like speech paralysis. Well, a few nights later, I had another dream where I was just in a situation, just a normal type situation, and nobody could speak. And then last night, again, I had a dream where I was trying to talk to somebody and I couldn't speak again. I was just wondering what your interpretation of that was.
I've got a couple layers of interpretation here. My first question for you is are you aware of conscious alien contact?
No, but I'm aware of contact with, a lot of different, I mean, I kind of consider nature and just, I'm aware of different contacts, but I don't really consider it alien.
Well, you have Pleiadian contact written all over you. And they're using your crown chakra to communicate with you. And when I've experienced been unable to talk in your dreams situation before, and what they're doing is trying to set up a vibratory level within you so that you awaken your lucid dreams and begin to talk to them. They're trying not to negatively influence you in any way, shape, or form. What they're trying to get you to do is lucid dream with them so they can begin the communication process with you. You're clearly linked to them in a soul family. So this is a soul family that's trying to communicate to you. And they can't do it in the physical life because the physical you hasn't had the vibratory adjustment in the dream world yet. So, I mean, as I tune into their energies, the soul mother, Nishmaya, very powerful woman, and she's been your soul mother for a very long time. And when you decided to take this job here on Earth during the time of change, she was very worried. So worried to the point that she left the Pleiadian homeworld and became part of the defense force that's around Earth right now. As did many other soul mothers and soul fathers. They're on the planet ships right now waiting for us to waken up and understand the migration that's going on. So when the fact that the voices are being taken away, it's so that you concentrate on a different vibratory tone and understand that this level of dream communication is really only 30% of your power. There's so much of your lifetime that they've tried to get in and communicate with you, but you have all these detours that are around you right now on an energy body. And then some of these detours are coming from concepts that you've learned from other people, and you're not owning your own soul truth. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Okay? Owning your soul truth isn't easy. I'm going to tell you that. It's a long process of going through all of the things that it applies to. And when I look at you, I see a complete Akashic Records story. I don't see redactions. And there are times that people literally have whole swaths of information redacted out of their Akashic record, so people that are negative can't come in there and read who you are and understand your soul contracts. So deep down inside, your soul knows that by showing all of your soul contracts in this type of world, it makes you very vulnerable. But it gives you an advantage over other people that you're unaware of, because right away, the people that are part of your extended soul family from the Pleiadians know who you are, know your true power, and do whatever they can to teach you, so that you own your power in such a way that you don't no longer need others to tell you all of the things that you're doing. I mean, you could be functioning on a soul level and a physical level, deeply connected, and put out volumes of information that could help people change, but that ultimately you would have to change yourself before those messages can come through.
Yeah, I've always felt that, well, I shouldn't say always, but lately I've felt that the last few years that I'm here to be a healer, but I've been kind of reluctant about it and kind of like, no, and it keeps coming back, and situations keep presenting myself where I have to step into that role.
Well, you should be the healer this lifetime. That's what you're meant here to do. With the psychic communication from your soul family, will really allow you to heal soul sick people. That's what you're here for. To find the people that are soul sick, or for them to come and find you because they're part of your extended soul clan, and they'll come to you for healing because there's a natural zone of trust because you're part of the soul clan.
I've noticed that, and the one thing that I notice about that is I keep attracting injured type people to my circle, and I want to start attracting stronger people as well.
Well, that's because right now the type of flame you're generating is I will heal all, but I'm not fully invested into that term. That's what you're putting out. That's what your beacon is telling. So people are confused, and the confused soul-wounded people will latch onto whoever can give them an ounce of healing. And when they tune into your beacon at first on a soul level, you give them 1 ounce of healing because that's what your omnidirectional beacon of you is saying. I will give you 1 ounce, but you must come and find me. And therefore they seek you out, and all these wounded people are everywhere. And to get past that wounded people, those wounded people concept, is you literally have to change the type of energy that you're expressing. You've got to confront your dream side before you go to sleep and say, I need to be more aware of the people that I'm attracting, and I need to have ideas and manifest these ideas in myself so I attract the right people, so the healing circle that I create is allowing everyone to expand and heal, and no single person is the chink in the armor or the broken wheel or the broken link. You know, the energy is there for you to use, but you must really come to it on a state of soul wisdom, saying, I'm doing this because it's in me. It is a part of me to do this. And those people that are soul wounded and are here, they're here so that you can teach them the healing process, as well as how to do it on their own. Quite literally. You know that.
Yeah, I do know that, but it's good to hear it.
All right.
I think I needed to hear that.
All right.
So,
you just got to do it. I mean, there's a little more here that I'd like to reveal for you. And I think you're at a state where letting go of the old concepts you've adapted from others is going to be one of a great freeing experience for you. But at the same time, you're going to have to redefine your sacred space, the concepts that allow those others' point of view in to redirect your own. You know, you're going to have to share your wisdom inside yourself and come to an understanding that the soul family that's trying to connect you is not just souls. They are physical bodies, you know, in a ship just outside of Saturn right now, waiting to telepathically communicate you and reintroduce you to the soul family that's waiting there, like quite literally.
Yeah, I've actually noticed that, and all throughout my life, I keep running into people that I've just, upon meeting them, I've looked into their eyes and it's been, yes, I already know you. So
yeah,
I do know that feeling. So, thank you, Andrew.
You're quite welcome. Do you have any other questions?
Not unless there's something. Is there another layer you want to? Anything else you think I need to hear at this moment, or?
Just give me a second here. Let me tune in. Well, the best way to say is you're on the rites of passage. And like the last caller, you've already graduated, and right now you're trying to go for extra credit work, and they don't take extra credit in a soul graduation.
I was, when I heard that you talking to the other caller, it was like you were talking to myself.
So here you are. You've graduated. You just have to accept the gifts that are being offered to you and create with them in your inner space.
Yeah.
Own them.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome, and call back any other time.
I will do so. Thank you. And I've listened to all your shows from the beginning, and I really enjoy it.
Well, thank you very much. Is there any shows that jump out to you? Anything you'd like to share?
Nothing specifically, but I just like the good, positive feeling. I like how for me, it's in the morning, and I listen to you when I get up, and then it charges me, and I learn something with just about every caller, and just really enjoy it on multiple levels.
Well, thank you. And that's why I wanted to do a morning show. Why I decided to come to Revolution Radio. They had the morning spot, they had the audience, they have the interactive chat room, and a outstanding website, and a great set of hosts that are here. And I'm able to put on this morning show where people are able to call in for advice or readings or however the show forms out. Each show is a little different. Each show the callers teach the listeners as well as I teach the callers and the callers and the listeners. So thanks for calling in.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, so our next caller name is, just a second, Mark. Mark, come on down. You're the next contestant on Who's Gonna Get a Reading?
Well, thank you. I'm really excited about this. So I'm a longtime follower, and I've got a lot of questions. Kathy, for you, I really have appreciated your advice for people in the future. So at the sort of the end of the thing, if after you get tuned in and such, I would appreciate that from you. Mm-hmm. And Andrew, I would like to start off with a classic reading. What are the main soul families and DNA lineage and how many, and then I don't want to spend too much time. All
right, hold on. Just let me tune in here. All right. Let me unswirl your crown chakra. Let me go through your 299 strands of DNA that you're not using. Let me go through all this. Here we go. The unique version that is you at the point of Earth immigration. Ooh. 4 legs. Ooh. All right. You're like a pachyderm type species on the very farthest edges of I'm going to call this the Andromedan galaxy, the very edges of it. Think of like an elephant's a pachyderm, maybe double the size of the pachyderm. Yeah, probably double the size. And you're an intensely psychic species that has its own sets of technology. And this is some of the representations of Gonish who became part of the Andromedan Society, which is the blue people that came here. This society is a uniquely psychic society, extremely friendly, long-term travelers. They're just, known across the universe as novel writers. They write books that can be read in any language telepathically, so you get the comedy and you get the meaning of all the words. They love making jewelry, mechanical type jewelry. You became entangled to Earth during the third part of the paradox. Let's see, which paradox was that? You're all screwy in that one. Here we go. The moment the divinity path beings of the Andromedans became involved in all timeline paradoxes, all 4 timeline paradoxes, they began calling upon other planetary species to come to their aid and spend time in Andromeda, gain the blue energy repetition because they were using a different version of Blu-ray technology, and then bring in their religions, their belief systems, so that they could out-create a system that was being created about 13 to 19 million years ago. Your arrival was directly as a divinity path, direct incarnation being, breaking the rules, saying, I am going to be a giant being of light that changes this world, and you did that for several lifetimes as a divinity path being. And then power began to wane in general as the Mahabharata came to an end at Epic Tale. And that Epic Tale spelled the end of shapeshifters. It began the imprinting of two-legged and limited colors of hair, no skin changing, and going to be eventually wearing shoes and all other sorts of things that keep them disconnected from the world.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So
you a gem collector?
Well, I've just started collecting a few crystals because of connection with the information that you've been putting out and such, but not necessarily. And but I have had a dream with a guy that looked like an elephant. Sit down and talk to him for a long time, and I thought it was great. I mean, I've told other people about this.
Well, there's more there to that elephant species. They naturally can bilocate. So that is something that's going to be very, very easy for you, bilocation as a skill. Once you get past the belief system of what it takes to empower that level of energy.
I've already been doing that, yeah, and I've been experimenting with that whole thing.
So one of the other things they are extremely good at is dowsing with scent, where they'll use dowsing rods and their nose at the same time and combine and make a third. You know how third eye is three with the RD. It's 3RD with a little number 2 at the top squared.
Okay.
It's a technology they can literally generate an extra expression to the nose chakra.
Well, I've been very much wanting to get out of the city and build a bioarchitecture place to create the right kind of voltage for myself. Explains a little of that.
Yep.
And I'd like to get to some to figure out what the heck is going on with me now. Get to some of my experiences since you have access to what is going on. In fact, one particular experience is right after I had asked you to be my friend on the old website. Mm-hmm. I'd come home from a gig one Wednesday night, and I came home from one Wednesday night from the gig, and of course I'm pretty high vibe coming home from the gig. I'm a pro musician. So I get home and I'm unloading my gear, and I feel like I'm having this telepathic communication, and I later on was telling someone about it on the Galactic Historian website, and all of a sudden 3 pops happened. My lights just blew out in my kitchen. It blew a fuse. It's never happened before. And I got a bunch of insights that night, and I seemed to have other things confirmed that I had been trying to figure out in my life. Like my son and I and other members of my family, I think, have been leapfrogging through time. And I believe that my son was my mom's mom reincarnated. And furthermore, I got that night that my son Jared, he had told me when he was a young kid that he was also my father. And I got the idea that somehow it was Enos. And then I reincarnated as Enoch. And that he was Jared. And
all of that is true.
Oh, my God.
All of it. This is a classic example of DNA lineage
where soul families figured out how to all hide in the same family without being detected by the system.
Oh my God, I remember it. Oh my God. Okay,
The
the
key
scars
is,
from
hold
on
on,
his
the key is you've got to be able to tell your children who they were in the past and still let them be who they're going to be now.
He
Because everything-
knows. He knows.
Yeah, he knows, but everything's got to remain memories to him, not activity of doing now.
So, I'm sorry, say that again?
They all have to remain memories.
Yeah.
The very nature of the
He's
immortality
very protective of that.
the very nature of the immortality process is that they become memories, so that the I am presence is what continues in the day-to-day, moment-to-moment action, always experiencing 7-color time.
Got it. Got it. What about the scars on his back, Andrew?
I don't think we should really talk about that on air.
Okay. Okay. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's not something that is terribly worrisome, but does have a story that needs to be understood.
Yeah. Yeah. He had a dream that he was separated from us for 6 months a few years ago. He woke up really affected. And I've had like 4 dreams come true. And I'm trying to figure all this stuff out. I've had dreams about wormholes, a penguin lady.
Mm-hmm. What I'd like for you to do is to think when these dreams actually occurred and go look on a website and find out if there were coronal mass ejections, either hitting the planet Earth or just erupting off of the sun. And you will begin to correlate and notice that the frequencies and types of dreams you have are very much related to how the planet is being affected by coronal mass ejections. And anyone else that's out there that has had a powerful dream, you can do the same thing. It's really not hard to find out if February 17th there was a very powerful coronal mass ejection that was hitting the planet. The answer is yes, there was. You know, you can begin to chart your own course and being aware of space weather means you can prepare spiritually for these dreams that are coming in. You can do energy cleanliness, put some extra protection around your bed or your children so that you all can have a unified dream sleep. These coronal mass ejections are our friend. They are beneficial energy that the system is creating camouflage around us so we do not observe it and take it in.
We should be creating ceremonies leading up to them.
Yep, absolutely.
So, okay. So what about undercover? What about my high school? What about my buddy who was an undercover Fed? Were we being picked up by ETs? Was I his job? And have I been time travel identified because moonlighting on Mars?
Let me just say it this way. When you joined the organization, you gave them the right to move you through time. Do you understand that?
I hear what you're saying.
Anyone in the military, anyone that's under government contract, literally, if you've taken a paycheck from them, you have given them the right to time travel you. And it is only your eminent equation that determines if they're going to use you for some mission or operation in total unawareness to you. Because they can very easily remove a shard out of yourself and you wouldn't notice other than having some depression, and it goes off on another timeline and does stuff, and all of a sudden you have what? A dream and a memory about something else going on in the dream world because your shard's still trying to connect to you. But then after a few days and weeks when other dreams come to take place, you forget about that shard because you're not aware of how powerful your dream world is because you're going through the suppression of working for the government. It's got its feeder tubes into you. And then after a while, it pulls the feeder tubes out, and your soul shards come back, and all of a sudden, wow, I feel better. And it fattens you up like a pig until it wants to do it again and again and again until it's done with you and kicks you to the curb. That's called retirement.
So there's a part of me somehow that's mixed up in some kind of black ops crap.
Yeah, but it's not here now. You really want to have the right thing to do with the shard is demand it returns in clean format. Break all contracts, vows, and agreements with all forms of
I've been doing that, and I've just found the multi-dimensional contract revocation, too, which I've done twice now already.
How did that work when you did it?
I did it today, and it was awesome. Yeah. And I'm, that's going to be I'm realizing, I'm a writer. I'm a songwriter. I put things down on words, and I've been spinning music for years, pro. And And I know the value of all of that and the healing properties and the benefit. And
maybe this is the time that you make the lyrics that begin to teach the people all about it.
already been doing all of that. It's been out there. It's like everybody's asleep. Nobody cares. Nobody's really listening yet.
That's right. That's
It's the
lyrics
wrong
right there.
frequency.
Right. Everyone asleep. Nobody's listening. That's a
right.
chorus.
That's right. That's right. So, okay, so what else? What about, I guess, abductions comes right into that. I remember when I was very young in Lubbock early on, and I remember not wanting to remember. Any
Yes, lots of them. Lots of them. As many as 200.
As many as 200.
Right.
200 different species
200 different abductions by as many as 40 different species.
Thank you.
And all to sample DNA in and around your adrenal glands, your kidneys, and your lungs. It was where they were sampling specific DNA because they needed the signature frequency of what your organs were doing so that they could duplicate synaptic pathway response in other clones that they were using. They needed you because the type of soul that you had in was firing at a higher spark level than other souls.
Get it. What about when I'm calling on my family for help at night, and I'm saying, look, I don't want any, when I'm doing my revocations and when I'm trying to make things happen, what about my ability to dream into the planet? Can you see any of that? Can you? And I also have one more quick question related to that because I'm trying to do a group thing. And spin a vortex through the top of the planet, sort of my little spiel through the night, and bringing the group that I host an open mic on Wednesday night, so it's sort of a regular thing.
Right.
And so I get regular people coming in, and I can develop a regular idea. Is that being effective? And what could I do to make it effective?
It can be very effective. It's about understanding and making sure that environment follows spiritual hygiene rules and that it's fun enough that nobody has any issues with you making sure that there's spiritual hygiene there, make sure people aren't sharing and dumping their dirty energy. If you're going to turn it to something that spins up a vortex to change the world, well, at that point in time, if you're going to make a choice, you need to do said material in a place that has the ability to make it a spin up a vortex. Not every place in the world is capable of doing that, and at times you can cause rift and tears in certain areas. For example, the big stadium concepts that they have now, if you look at them with multidimensional view, they are just giant ripped reality portals. Okay? Any place that has 80,000 people in it, even something that has 2,000 people in it regular night is ripped portal realities. That is not a place that you want to do something like that.
Yeah, well, my thing is a small scale, and what I'm trying to do is basically just get people into the top of the planet and out of the city in their dream world, so we can get this thing together.
Well, you can do that.
Just to give them the idea that at night when they go to sleep, well, they'll be going into the top of the planet, you know.
Right. That can be done with a light and sound show. Really easy. And the music is the guide to that journey to the North Pole.
You know, this is more of just an idea that I'm throwing out that I'm trying to implant in their consciousness that when they go to sleep, oh, we're going into the top of the planet, you know.
And then include words like this is where you get your ancestral family reunion.
Exactly, that kind of stuff. Exactly what I'm doing. I'm doing all of that kind of stuff.
You're taking the power of music and empowering it with fourth dimensional spirituality. It's a matter of understanding how it's heard. It's not the individual frequencies, harmonies, and tones, but the nature of the language is if it flows as lyrics and not spoken word.
Okay.
Is there a way you can use samples? Sure. You know, there's all sorts of combinations of music. You know, one of the recent ones I heard was country techno. You know, and then you know, hip hop techno. Things are being created every day. If you're going to go on this awakening path music, don't label it. Just let the lyrics define itself.
Okay.
Try not to make it like a love song.
Yeah, I mean, I'm flowing in all that stuff. I'm so far ahead. I don't even have an audience. I'm having to go back and get people. So, in fact, that brings up a question of cosmic connection to music.
Okay.
Since I am a musician and my son's a musician as well.
You have a cosmic connection to music because you've been a musician in so many hundreds of lives on hundreds of different worlds. Many, many locations where you picked up another version of a guitar that was made out of something that isn't wood, something else. Or you learn how to play something that's equivalent to a piano. Or creating a group of plants that make a certain noise that is an organic piano.
Wow. So let me confirm a few other things. I'm kind of going down a list here. So I obviously did make deals all in between lives, and I've done some in between life sessions, in fact, to try to explore some of that. But it's a lot more confirmed now. Any insights about my dragon connection specifically, because I've just recently become aware of all of that stuff, and now I'm trying to figure that out. And I'm doing a lot of this at night, too, trying to do it when I'm sleeping. Suggestions?
I want to bring Kathy in here and have her add a perspective.
Oh, okay, sweet.
Well, I don't know that I really can answer that question, but I know you referred to wanting to know about your future path as well. Seeing it's a short time, maybe I could just jump there. One of the things that I'm seeing is that in terms of career, you're going to find that there is a lot of questions that are going to come up for you soon, probably before the end of the year. And they're questions that will almost challenge you to decide what kind of direction you're going to go. If it's music, then I guess what type of music, how are you going to present it, etc., or if it's the open mic. But it's a challenging thing, a challenging time for you because you have to make choices. And for me, I look at it and you really agonize over it. But what I'd say to you is that you really have to go with what you started with originally. Because if you trust that and your original thoughts, you'll always be right.
Great advice.
Thank you.
So one thing that a piece of add-on that I have to this is you've been doing a lot of hard work, and at some point you have to stop doing the hard work, allow it to the process to end so you can trigger the advanced hindsight. So the next set of processes you're going through, you're going to be doing it as a much more higher functional, multidimensional being with hindsight intact every moment of your day.
Awesome.
So it's coming up for a spiritual break too.
Yeah. All that makes, of course.
Yeah. Take a pilgrimage somewhere. Go and enjoy the energies of the land and remind yourself how great and wonderful this place is.
I was about to take a trip up to the Beavers Bend area and look for crystals and take the jet skis out.
That sounds like a really, really good idea.
It does.
We've got to end this call and move on. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Kathy. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, people oftentimes feel connections. One of the reasons I started doing reading shows years and years ago is I knew people were getting healings from them. There's examples that Danielle has read where I do readings in a written format where I don't actually ever meet or speak to the person. They just send me a picture and their name on it. And I'll go to a ceremonial fire and then I'll commune about that person and I'll write 3,000 or 4,000 words, quite a significant amount, and that's a synopsis of that life's person from that expression of ever-present fire understanding where you're in a ceremony, a neutral space. And it's a unique experience to read someone at that level, to not have verbal communication, but the verbal communication readings, I'm in the zone, I'm in the Akashic frequency. And there are people that just hearing that frequency in that continued presentation with that other person going through the different stages and processes of their healing, understanding, or a non-understanding connects them. You know, people that have listened to me for a while, they know when I can get really turn it up. They've seen shows, or they've seen things where everyone's bursting out into tears, or everyone's going through joyous rounds of expression, because not only is a new frequency, but a new understanding has been reached. We're ready for our first reading, and we're going to bring on Heidi.
Hi there.
Heidi,
Thanks
are you
for
there,
having
Heidi?
me. I am. Can
Thank
you hear me?
you. Can you speak up just a little bit?
Can you hear me now?
Yep, you're much
Hello?
better. Yep.
You can hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you good. So how did you find out about
great.
me?
I found out about you about 6 or 8 months ago. I was watching a YouTube video where you were talking to Laura Eisenhower, and you guys were talking about different things that had happened to the Earth, and you just totally resonated with me, so I immediately started watching YouTube videos all about you, and then got on your website, and there you have it.
Well, thank you. So you've heard me do bunches of material before. What questions do you have to start the reading, or did you just want me to jump in?
Just jump in.
Well, you have the Akashic record of this world and 20,000 other worlds open to you. So what I need you to do is tell me about the first 10 minutes of your day. When you first woke up, what did you first thing you do? Did you roll over? Did you pet your cat? Did you look at your watch? What was going on in that first 10 minutes of your day? Give me a synopsis about 30 or 40 seconds out loud, and what I'm going to do is tune into your infinite dream world and how you adjust to being in the regular world.
Okay. Well, basically, let's see, I remember I rolled over, I woke up, I had the thought, I can't believe I forgot to set my alarm clock when I just woke up, and it was like 6:50, and I laid there in bed, and then I realized I really need to pee, and I really don't want to get up, so I'll lay here a little longer, and then I tried to remember some of my dreams, which I wasn't remembering too much, and then I sat there and did kind of my little exercise of just kind of grounding myself and setting my intention for the day and
all right,
protecting myself.
I've tuned into your dream world. And the very first thing that I'm getting is a significant part of your dream world is being blocked out right now. A really significant part, a part that's connected to some kind of farming ritual. Do you have Native American in your mother's lineage?
Not that I know of.
What do you know about your mother's mother?
Not a ton. She was farmers. They, I know that. I think they.
Farmers. Yep.
Yeah, I know that farmer lineage. I know there was Irish. And I'm not sure if it was German. You know what? And I think there actually might be a little bit of Native American now that I think I remember my mom talking about that.
It would be very beneficial for you to go to something like Ancestry.com or some other hereditary or search format or family members and begin to find out. There's a tremendous amount of unhealed karma on your mother's lineage side, and you've inherited that this lifetime. And until you come into semblance and balance with the part of your spirit that left the agricultural world for the industrial world, the selling out to the slave society, 40 or 100-hour work week industrial society, it was from one slave society to another, and your soul's having an extremely difficult time going through this group of awakenings without being connected to doing things like seed songs. Like each year there's a crop that's planted, and the people that plant the crops know how to magically plant the crops, but months before, or sometimes even years before, the ancient grandmothers come out and would create seed songs, and they'd do these songs over tens of thousands of seeds, and these would be the seeds of future generations in case there was ever a famine or starvation or something was going on. They could put these magical seeds into the ground that had the powers of the grandmothers over them. And this is what you were meant to be doing this lifetime, is to be singing over seeds, to be singing over the 7 future generations that are going to have an abundance in them, whether it's a hunter making a bow and arrow that's passed on to a father or a daughter, or a set of moccasins. It was about the legacy of what we could create.
Wow, that's kind of blows me away, actually.
Well, do you like doing things with your hands?
Oh, I'd love to.
What, do you do crafts or anything like that?
Oh, well, actually, I work as a firefighter, so I work with my hands that way.
Oh, I knew that. So work as a firefighter.
Yes,
so
yes, I do.
You're choosing firefighter. Could you ever see yourself as a farmer?
A little bit. I mean, my thought was once I finish my firefighting work was to get more into gardening. I garden, so I toil that way.
No, I was referring to actually being a farmer, like up at sunlight, done at sunset. And there's a reason I asked that too, because this goes deep, deep, deep into your soul history. One of the important lifetimes that comes up through the Akashic frequency here is a lifetime that you led in the Brazilian Amazon rainforest, and this would be probably right dead smack in the center of Brazil where the Amazon is, and there's these large areas that actually were crafted by hand. So whenever the Amazon would flood, these other areas would take the overflow and make a land of 10,000 lakes. And then these lakes had artificial islands on them, and they would create these islands that would grow tubers or something that looks like a potato, but it's a water version of it. And it's extremely beneficial in nutrients, and they could actually make canals where they could move these mobile islands and put them into other rivers and move them downstream. And your soul was an integral part at creating this, not just at the beginning, but occupying lifetimes where you were trees, you were plants, you were the people on those different farms. And they were all specific soul families from Orion who were coming here and trying to resolve war karma by coming here and taking up the agricultural respect of Earth for the wars that they had caused here. It's called swords to plowshares. You ever heard that terminology?
I've never heard that terminology. Swords to plowshares?
Swords to plowshares. It's an ancient saying when the warriors put down their swords and become farmers, where they craft, where they take their metal sword and it recrafted into a plow or into a hammer that's used for making homes, or an axe. They literally convert what their old tools were, and they take the energy of the warrior and then reinvest it into the land until it takes them 1 or 2 decades or generations sometimes of soul investment, so that they permanently let go of war as a vital concept for soul orientation. It was a way that your soul family was able to recalibrate out of a war frequency and do great amount of healing at the Orion and Syrian side. You also have a tremendous connection to, it's called Isatoran. They're a cross between a reptile and a bird. Now, most people are instantly fear whenever we say reptiles. Not all reptiles are bad. Many of them have gotten a bad rap from the idiots that have been doing their shit over here. So it's essentially a reptilian bird, and they're about 8 feet tall. They have wings as well as opposable arms and legs. So you could almost look at it as angelic, but it's a reptilian that has feathers. It has 2 brains, one in its head and one in its tailbone, and the brain in its tailbone has 4 hearts around it. It doesn't have a heart in the center of its chest. It has it all around its brain. It's a primordial thinker, and it's an advanced strategist. It grew up in a predator-prey species, but it was a species that found enlightenment in predator-prey, because even the prey was being enlightened by every kill that they received. It was a perfect balanced predator-prey society. But when false light beings came there and introduced a different type of war concept, these predators became predators of the galaxies at times. They were quite fearsome in what they were capable of doing, and they led these bloodhound gangs. And these bloodhound gangs would literally be able to search down a soul in any dimension or time stream. That's how powerful they were. And these bloodhounds began being incorporated into the Sirian and the Orion systems until finally the Sirians and the Orions were doing war with each other, and their own societies were splitting up. And still the Avarans were bringing in more blood hunters or scent hunters, or what I call the psychic pheromone wars, where they were hunting soul families based off of the psychic pheromone that they could leave in an area.
So what you're saying then is this reptile bird is called an Isotorian?
Yeah, in that's the karma that you're resolving right now, this lifetime. Okay?
Gotcha.
So you've done the war karma, and you're now a firefighter, which is still another service to country, which is nothing bad with it. It means you're still coming to the final terms with why the wisdom of your Isotoran homeworld and Navaran homeworld, which are one is the predator and one is the prey, and they're always chasing each other etherically around the galaxy as soul families who have gotten into a permanent predator-prey soul family incarnation cycle. So many of the people that in firefighting expression are other Isotorans who have needed specific rescue from this system, or some of the Sirians and Greys that you've done, and the Orions that you've done battle with, vice and versa. It's a vicious game of resolution of karma. And for you to exit that game would to be going back into farming, and like a ceremonial expression of farming, where you can plant spiritual crops as well as physical crops.
Gotcha.
Like, you have so many watchers around you right now. Usually when I see this amount of watchers, they're first responders, they're people that have been in the ambulance industry for a long period of time, people that are in war. I've read many people that are in Afghanistan. And when I see watchers like this, it means that you are doing spiritual combat in the dream world. And this is why you're really not connected to the fullness of your dream world, like I was saying in the beginning, because you shut it off at about age 7, maybe age 8, and you turned it back on for a little bit.
So how do I get it back on? Is by doing those ceremonies you were talking about in the beginning?
Let's look at age 7 and 8. What was going on with you? Where were you living?
Oh, it's perfect. I know exactly why I shut it off. But my parents got divorced. My mom moved us out of state, and all kinds of crazy stuff with my family and parents, and didn't trust my mom.
And was right at that time.
Oh yeah, I know exactly when I shut it off.
Okay, so let's talk about why you shut it off.
Well, my gut feeling as I shut it off is because my mom was very adamant about that things aren't real, that only what you see is real. She's very evangelical, Christian kind of. This is, karma. If you don't do this, you're going to hell, that kind of stuff. Right. So I
ancestral
bought into that for a while.
Right. I call that ancestral debt karma. Your mom had no choice but to enforce the reality rules on you. Here's the debt. Here is a belief system that is not going to help you. Here you go. And since that time, you've been carrying that debt.
Right.
You don't need to carry that debt anymore, and it doesn't need to be returned to your mother. It needs to be returned to the ancestors that created it. And this is the key for you to coming into balance with all the things that are going on with this predator-prey thing that's around you, and why all these different sentinels are up. You essentially need, at a spiritual level, need to go through the swords to plowshares, where you're going to put down the weapons of dream warfare and the weapons of spiritual warfare, and pick up planting spiritual crops, creating spiritual gardens in the physical world, in the real world, creating worlds in your dream worlds instead of war worlds. To not longer create agendas and strategies that can put karma into resolution, but can put creation and expansion instead of karmic resolution as the first choice.
So do I do that through intention when I go into my dream world?
Intention is one thing. Have you heard me talk about telling your story to the fire?
Yes, I have.
Have you ever thought about doing that?
I have. It actually really resonated with me a couple weeks ago when I heard you say that.
Well, this is one of those self-challenge moments. What does it take for you to challenge yourself and all your other selves that may be in resistance of you telling your whole story to no one else but yourself and the element of fire? And from there, you'll be able to guide and chart what it is that you have to do so that you can create a dream world that isn't war, that your mind can connect to and see the peace, beauty, and unity of the world, that can look at the different stargates and the energy facilities of Earth and understand that, yes, there's this surface aggression, but you don't need to tune into it. You have 100% free will when your spirit is attached to you and in that co-creative moment. And it is not just intention that sets the space, it's the power of the mind to stay disciplined, to keep it in that powerful space. And we do that by creating ceremonies that brings our heart levels up so that we are in trust of the space. We often bring elements to those space like fire, wind, water. Sometimes we bring drums so they help us go deeper and deeper. For you, this is about identifying when and where you can disconnect from work, from family, from life, and simply be in the frequency of yourself. And begin to notice how other people's frequencies jump into you, and then how much your mind is distracted every time you try to stay focused, because you have all of these sentinels that are all over your frequency, constantly looking for the next emergency or the next warning or the next omen.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense.
Okay. So do you have any questions for me?
One question I have is you had mentioned something about Orion and Sirius. Are you saying that I had a lot of lives as an Orion, with the Orions
Hundreds.
and
And that came in from those bloodhound units where you basically were a psychic hunter and you liked work with the Orions and the Sirians so much, and you made a tremendous amount of equivalent of money working for them as mercenaries. When you got high enough frequency, you incarnated into their soul families and brought your light body skills as a hunter with you.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So you were upgrading your own light body DNA by doing that. And that was at a time where the Sirians and the Orions were creating the first models of Greys. Greys don't actually have souls inside them. They're biomechanical machines that other living spark frequencies can enter, not one at a time, but dozens, and control them like autonomous hive soldiers or automatons. Though they can still function and run on their own and their hearts work and all that other stuff. But if there's not a seed spark soul inside them, they're just running a program, which could be basic maintenance, which could be collecting product, whatever, but they don't actually make soul-based thought patterns or structures. And you were a part of that Gray production organization. There's quite a few people on Earth that were about making these biomechanical suits, and it mainly was because we as souls wanted to cheat. We wanted to be in Earth, going through the experience in unawareness, but still wanted to have the power to enter other gray biomechanical bodies and somehow make their way here to Earth so we could influence ourselves to make different choices. So a lot of people got caught with their hand in the cookie jar that way, me included. So you do have some of that this lifetime. You were abducted when you were 22. It looks like you were abducted by the 315 7x3. Let me look at this. Hold on. The abduction was loss of time, reintegration of a soul shard, exchange of they did harvest your DNA, they did harvest your Kundalini, and that harvested DNA and Kundalini went into some kind of like transfusion to save another person, and your soul had actually agreed to the loss of time to your I am presence. So this was like your oversoul coming in and calling a timeout during your I am presence and saying, solving this karma at the higher soul level far exceeds the amount of healing that you're going to get by just allowing that to happen. At that time, you were not ready to understand what was going on. So what the Akashic Record shows here is clearly you liver matter, heart matter, DNA matter. It kind of looks like something it was a very powerful connection to your soul family that was here living on Earth. It was a very old being. Wow. Old being in Madagascar. So Madagascar has been coming up a lot with some other people here. Where were you when you were 21? Where were you living?
I was in Los Angeles.
Lived in Los Angeles. What part of the valley?
I was actually over by LAX, over off the 405 over that area. Like La Tejera.
Yep. I know.
Over in that general area.
The reason
I know
what sacred geometry system was the big crossover there for you. When I'm looking at this, they essentially harvested you for 2 weeks, and there was a tremendous removal from you, but you got tremendous amount back. And I'm looking at the actual soul contracts that are stated here from your higher self and the higher self of the being that you healed in unawareness. The donation of what you give this being 13 extra months of life in which he was able to pass on a knowledge and wisdom of some type of alchemy. It looks like a mixing of plant and animal medicines that made some kind of, I want to say, like, gelatin, like when you make head cheese or something like that.
Uh-huh.
Like suspending things in fat and flesh and vegetables. It's if you've ever seen head cheese, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Gotcha.
And it was an intense alchemy. It would be like laid over the body, and it allowed regeneration. So those that sacrificed their flesh to make that type of energy, you could rebound the flesh of those that were burnt. And it was a way of karmically balancing the being also. So it's some kind of like skin grafting alchemy. It was really, really important to your soul. I mean, so important that it brought in angelic beings from other planets to make sure that it would happen. It was a gigantic deal.
Awesome.
And this is where you got all your watchers from. This was your demanding. So from that point forth, after that moment of those moments of harvesting, you've had an unlimited amount of watchers and protectors every time you're out in the field because of what you went through in unawareness. And now it's the time you begin to redirect them because they're still your gift. So instead of them constantly warning you of what's out there, they can become protectors of your sacred space. They can walk around the edges and keep beings out from prying in on you. They can begin to create special pathways so that watching beings get lost on the pathways and can never get actually to you. You can give them commandments to kick out beings of negativity. You can give them special rules and orders during your ceremonial time to make sure you feel safe in your sacred space, to make sure you're not distracted by the continuous warnings and omens that are coming from these sentinels you've created.
Got it. That's great. Perfect. I will totally use them that way.
Okay. Do you have any more questions?
Can you talk to me just, the only other question I have, I got a connection with like dolphins and whales. What's my connection, especially like the humpbacks keep talking to me?
Hold on, I'm scanning. Yeah. Hold on, I gotta separate. There's a whole bunch of lifetimes here where you were a whaler.
Oh.
No, it's balancing of karma. I've just got to get to the root of why whales and dolphins. Take that Japanese life out. Take that Norwegian lifetime out. Shark hunting. All right, so in timeline genocide number 1, timeline 2, at 11 million years BC, you gave up living two-legged life and switched to finned life. Whale, dolphin, fish, tuna, all that other stuff. But you stayed here on Earth, and then you graduated into the merfolk concept, but you still did not have two legs. You were adamantly, I am not taking two legs anymore, until there was a mass die-off in the ocean, and you were forced to take back again two legs as a Neanderthal. And it would have been in, I'm going to call this southern Spain, Atlantic Ocean, not Gibraltar, but a little bit more north than Gibraltar. And there you would have had an intense lifetime going from soul families living in the ocean and you being forced to living in soul families that have two legs. You had to live, you were soul sharded out. You had to live two lives at once. And too many times did you have the heartbreak where a dolphin was killed to be eaten or a whale was killed to be turned into blubber, and there was just a soul connection to it, and you would never know why you were so sad, even though you were eating the flesh of one of your soul families. And so your connection to them right there is you lived millions of lives in them. I think it's time that you really look at your concept of a soul family reunion for yourself, that you begin to create ceremonies, tell your story to the fire, and when you get good at creating sacred space, invite your soul family from the ocean to come share dream space with you.
Okay.
Okay. Any more questions?
Well, geez, I got probably 1,000 questions, but I'm sure you have other callers that want to move on. So.
No, go ahead with your question.
All right. Well, the last I'll take this last part was what's my connection with like Atlantis and the Egyptians? There's like Egypt with the pyramids are just coming to me these last couple weeks, big time.
That's soul programming. Why that's coming with you now? Because the Middle East sacred geometry systems have been highly lightened up with the energy of war. Sacred geometry energies are being reinvested into those buildings and systems, so people's DNA memories of Egypt or Atlantis that have been manipulated begin to surface in the very edges of your dream world, so that you become aware of what they want you to believe in. So you're really very littly connected to Egypt. You're far more connected to India or Sri Lanka than you would be the Atlantean Empire that later invested into Egypt. You do have lifetimes in Egypt, not as many others, maybe about 30 or 40, and those are a wide variety from head of a religious order to a slave. You did everything in between too, but you were not there for the majority of the Egyptian expressions all throughout the different timeline genocides. You had other plans. Your plan in India goes into Afghanistan and finding technology that had been left there by other species, involved in different mystery schools that were based all throughout the Indus Valley. You did battle against Alexander the Great. You were a general that didn't defeat him, but you were able to outsmart him because you had sacred geometry technology as well as Vimana technology to spy on his troops. And he also had this, and the both of you discovered this simultaneously. You were using the same technology, and you physically actually met Alexander the Great on a battlefield in neutrality where you talked about this two different technologies because you both realized at that time that there were beings who were manipulating everyone to do this. And they created this frequency where they could speak to each other and not be heard by anyone else. But it was recorded into the Akashic record. So that means it was an uninfluenced moments where two conquering beings met each other and said, hey, there's a bunch of other beings trying to manipulate us. Let's figure something out so we could both benefit from this.
Gotcha. So then, is that why I'm being called back into the sacred geometry? Because I've been like devouring that stuff for like the last 2 months, just reading everything I can about it.
Well, I'm gonna say it's chum in the water.
Got it.
It's attracting you to something, but what is it really attracting you to? What is it doing to you? Is it making you do things? Are you reading more than you've done before? Have you gotten out and meditated because of it? Has it really sparked something in you, or is it just feeding it?
You know, I'm not really sure exactly what it's doing. I'm trying to sit with it because I don't really understand where it's coming from.
Well, I think when you go back and listen to the recording of this reading, I think it would be very, very beneficial for you to go out and buy a few hundred seeds. I mean, they're pretty cheap, and seeds that you can plant and eventually eat. And I want you to put them into a pouch, and I want you to dream with them. Okay. As long as you can, as many weeks or months as you can. Even put them in a pouch and wear them around your neck or keep them in your pocket. So when it comes time for you to plant these seeds, you're putting something into this earth that reaffirms your soul's mission of swords to plowshares.
Okay.
Stopping being in the war frequency in your dream so you can be in the now frequency of healing. So much more of what your DNA memories are trying to teach you, specifically about Atlantis, specifically about Egypt, that leads you into a whole other avenue of exploration. And some of that avenue of exploration, it isn't about the times of Atlantis. It's what they did during those times. You know, as I said before, you were a farmer, but you also were a technician, a warrior, a dancer. I can see dozens and dozens of lifetimes where you were happiest as a soul has ever been in India, in Madagascar, on the Chongo Islands, all throughout there as a very powerful entity, divinity dancing entity, where you could do dancing healing around people. You could do this. You'd literally dance like 2 days around a dying person, and the person would come back to life. See, those lifetimes, I see those in the Akashic Record as far more important than what's going on with you in Egypt right now. I mean, you're dealing with some DNA activation, and you've gone through a series of awakenings. I mean, I kind of call this awakening syndrome, where you're awake, but you sometimes force yourself to stay awake even more, and you don't have to. Mm-hmm. This is the time of pause and contemplation, of not forced education. This is your time of ceremony, because on the 21st of December 2014 is another opportunity for you as a soul to experience global dream time as a unity species. For one brief second, our species will experience global dream time yet again on the 21st of December. But that brings us all 1 degree closer, where we're no longer a separated species but a unified species. And pretty soon it won't be 1 second or 1 microsecond. It might be 2 full seconds. And that 2 full sections of unifying is going to awaken millions and millions of people to a whole new layer of reality.
I definitely look forward to that.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to move on to the next caller.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you, Andrew.
You are good. Thank you very, very much.
Each different bubble of reality is true.
A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma.
Nudge, nudge. It's the Holy Grail.
Improvise. Mysterious.
It's counter psychic intelligence.
Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important?
Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.